Tri-Beam Ha! Thank you guys for coming out to the Tien. Good afternoon, Kameha Con. It's Sunday afternoon. How you doing today? All right. So this is the Tien Panel. So without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce our wonderful, talented voice actors today. Starting off, my left. It's Sunday morning, guys. It was a long day yesterday. So starting off on our left, we have Cason.
Thank you. Thank you. Please remain seated. Thank you.
And of course, in the middle, we have the talented John Burgmeier.
Welcome to this meeting of Tien's Anonymous. My name is John.
Hi, John.
I'm a Tien.
And of course, we round it out with Brandon Hunter.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, guys, so this is going to be very informal because, one, it's Sunday morning. And Saturday is always fun. So we're going to just start off where everyone's going to spend 10 minutes talking about themselves and their life and life goals.
10 minutes.
Maybe 2.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Yeah. Haha.
Please remain in the room. Thank you.
Yes. And then we're going to open it up to questions from the audience. So, Chris, you want to start us off over there?
Do I ever? What do I?
What am I doing?
So,
Talk about myself.
talking about your role as Tien.
Well, I have this role as Tien. And yeah, as I mentioned during opening ceremonies, my very first professional voice acting job was Tien. 25 years ago this year, my Fern, it was a long time ago. And so, you know, that character and this property holds a big place in my heart because it's very nostalgic and special to me. And though I did it for a single season, the first season, I still love the character, love the show, and this scene. Thank you. Please, don't applaud it. It's more up here, I get it.
He's got nothing.
Did I mention I'm also Tien?
You are?
Wow.
How did I come to Tien? Chris, now remind me. Your time as Tien ended. You had relocated elsewhere? Is that what it was?
Actually, so I was Mr. Popo in Tien, and then I got the opportunity, I was also a local actor too, and I got the opportunity to do a national touring company of a show. And I thought, what a once-in-a-lifetime thing. So I will leave, and they said, well, if you leave, just know that your characters will be replaced because we have to keep moving. And I said, that's fine, I want to go see Mount Rushmore. So I left, and that's what happened.
So while Chris was off seeing Mount Rushmore, Tien reappeared in the series, in the episodes we were recording, and I was working as an engineer at Funimation. The director and producer needed to cast Tien in a hurry, and I was the closest guy to the line.
Geographical convenience.
Yes. My boss and Chris Sabat, the voice director, were having a conversation one day. Yeah, we need to find a Tien. That's Barry, our boss.
Yeah.
And Chris says, oh, I think we have a Tien. Oh yeah, who's that? Oh, he's right here. And at that moment, I became a voice actor.
I suppose the biggest difference, of course, is that I do the ocean dub version or the blue water dub, depending on which camp you fall into. So, you know, the work I got to do on Dragon Ball started with Oob in Dragon Ball GT, and then I had the opportunity, because I didn't start my career till after DBZ had been done in Vancouver, to, for whatever ended up happening, go out for Tien and have the great honor of being allowed to be in the Dragon Ball franchise in another meaningful way, which ended up being quite large for you know, a young voice actor to now have this amount of credits so quickly. So maybe similar to Chris, it was like, wait, what is happening? This is amazing. It's new and it's possible and right time, right place, or whatever those things are. And then you keep showing up for the next 20 years hoping for more of that kind of opportunity, and some of them are equally meaningful.
Are you interested in voice acting? Are you a professional actor or just interested in getting started in the industry?
You're in luck. Elise Baughman is now teaching voiceover classes.
She has private and group classes that she teaches.
Stuff that I learned with her has been the business of voice acting.
I learned the physicality, the confidence, and just how to improvise and how to become a new character.
Just taking the character off of a page and bringing it to life.
And if you guys are serious about doing voiceover, it's super easy. Go to elisecoaches.com, get signed up, and we'll see you there.
Okay, we're done.
Yeah, that's it.
Hi.
Nothing
Right
to
over
see
the
here.
All right.
Hi, I want to ask, how did all of you approach conveying the relationship between Tien and Chiaotzu? That's such an integral relationship for the characters.
You can start us off, John. I mean, you've had the most.
I think John's first.
You've had the most iterations to play with that idea.
Well,
And if you're not ready, we can fill some space.
I was directed. John, first and foremost, when dealing with Chiaotzu, pretend that he's real.
Difficult.
See, my director, Chris, he had a theory that Tien was the only one who could see Chiaotzu. So he said, you're going to pretend that he's real. No one else can see. I mean, I wish I had a better answer.
I think it's great.
I wish I had an answer about actual acting process or something.
Well, maybe I think it's fair to also say that we don't get a lot of access to what the storyline's going to be, how it's going to evolve. Early in my career, I could get the scripts for that session, and then pretty soon that was hard to do, and you'd just show up on the day and you'd pretty much go in cold, and you would figure it out on the day. I don't know what the dub work was like down here, but that was a very challenging part of it, is you would be told, okay, this is kind of like the synopsis of your character, and then as the episode started to be in the rearview mirror, you'd have a better idea as to like, what are we actually doing with them? What are they becoming? Because, Tien isn't, well, in my iteration in Dragon Ball, like he doesn't start off as their best bud, and so there's this long journey of why are they there, what are they contributing, and how is it going to allow us to evolve with them? And so I think Chiaotzu, in my own little opinion, is one of those great reminders of we need safe friendships. Like we need the types of care and compassion where he might be so much dominant in size to Chiaotzu, but Chiaotzu offers him so much of the importance of connection and reflection of why are we doing this and how are we doing it better tomorrow?
That was a good answer.
Yeah. Also, my director said, he's not real, just pretend he's real. No, I didn't say that. I didn't, not for me.
I was afraid of that character when I began because I thought, this looks like a little clown kid. And I don't like that at all. I don't like clowns in general. Daddy! I know the design, of course, was based on a Chinese vampire, but I was just like, God, that's creepy. And of course, the person who portrayed Chiaotzu at that time was Monica Antonelli, who was a very soft-spoken, basically sounded like Chiaotzu, very soft-spoken, quiet, dare I say the word mousy, kind of, did I say librarian already? Yeah. And so she came in to do these things, and sometimes with Chiaotzu she would get a little loud for her, which is fun to watch, as I later saw. But the relationship is it's one of friendship, and it's how you play, your relationship to a friend as opposed to, someone that you don't know as well. It's just, you interact so much, and those two interacted a lot. They're constantly training throughout the show, and so it's just playing a friendship, a close friendship. So, but they also fight a lot. They kick bootay. They also scream a lot, and all of our throats can attest to, for 8 hours sometimes in a booth. And the human voice, humans, we don't yell like that in real life ever, not that much. You're never called upon to just stand and yell that long, that hard. But we did, and Chiaotzu made us happy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please. Yeah, put a little bow on it. That was close.
I guess, speaking of the yelling in the booth, do y'all have any of those horror stories of the passing out in booth because you were screaming for 8 hours?
Yes. I mean, I don't have all the same stories, but yeah. I mean, it's an interesting part of the placement of the voice and the texture and trying to keep the power off of the throat, like a singer would try and like make permission for sound rather than push sound above the shoulder blades. But it's hard, especially when, yeah, you might be doing a power up for, geez, you would sometimes get to the 8th or 9th stage of that power up and you'd be like, I'm actually at 10 out of 10. And you'd have to go back and start lower and build through it again for another 5 minutes. And you're like, well, there's only so many ways that I can do that without having some harm. And I don't know if you guys ever had damage, but I remember tasting blood one time and being like, well, that's great to know so that I can do better next time. And as a young VA, we make some choices in the moment that are just, I want to appease. And then we learn how to do it better in future because we deserve to, hopefully come out relatively unscathed.
We learn very quickly what not to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't pinch above the shoulders. Don't pinch here.
I never fully passed out in the booth, but I certainly have made myself dizzy where I had to kind of take a knee, catch my breath.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I've done that too, where I thought, I might. So I'm just gonna stop, take a deep breath, ask for a 5, water, all that stuff. I've done that before. Never actually hit the ground. Never. That sound never happened, but I was worried about it. Although in the early days, once again back in the Stone Age, they had 3/4 deck tape they were recording with. And what that meant was one episode, it took usually 2 weeks to record one episode. But it also means that during your session, if you did a take and something didn't work, of course you had to do it again. But to do it again, they had to rewind the tape. So it was like that sound as it went forever. So by the time they would say, okay, can you give me one more? First I would say, wait, what do you want me to do? Because it took so long to rewind the tape. But if you have to yell again and again, that was the era when you had to do it the most because of all the technical failings. So yeah, that was particularly difficult because there was a lot of screaming that no one ever heard because there was some kind of technical problem. So never passed out, almost did, and I went to an ENT because I was curious about how my throat was, and they did that thing where they take the camera and they snake it down your nostril, down to your throat. Oh, really? And what's interesting is they took it down both nostrils, and I thought, well, you're both headed to the throat. But okay, let's have fun. So we take it down there, and he said, no, it looks fine. And I thought, no kidding, because I was sure there was some issue, but there wasn't. And I said, so who normally gets this? He said, believe it or not, teachers. He said, singers and actors, obviously, but teachers and doctors have a lot of throat damage. And I said, doctors? I said, why? And he said, do you hear what I'm doing with you right now? And I'm talking to you and telling you about your ailments or lack of ailment? And I said, yeah. He said, I do this with hundreds of patients weekly. Yeah. And so after a while, so apparently doctors and teachers have the potential for that. But yeah, no nodes, no problems so far, so I guess I'm good for another 30 or 40 years of screaming.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Sign us up.
We got a question on this side, and then I'll come to you next.
I want to know from all three of you guys if there's, like off the top of your head, what's the Tien moment that resonated with you the most when you're voicing him, right? Anything that pops up, like out of all the little lines and all the hours.
I mean, the scene that certainly is the most memorable for me is Tien's one big moment to shine, I guess, is when he has that battle against Cell, and that is definitely because that is the session where more than any other I experienced like what we were just talking about here of the screaming and the intensity and the almost passing out in the booth kind of thing. That was a full 8-hour day of yelling. What? Yeah, that seems to be the consensus. That's what everyone tells me. Like, hey man, that one fight with Cell, Tien was great.
He also had that moment during the blue side who came in pretty close, came out of nowhere.
And but you did break your boy's leg with Yamcha, man. That was kind of
Tien has a mean streak. What can we say? He was formerly an assassin in training, so Yeah, he's not all nice guy.
Let's see. Well, it wouldn't be yelling the word Chiaotzu.
Chiaotzu!
Because that only happens every 15 minutes.
Yeah. I'd always put an invisible, I love you.
Kind of smooth over. Yeah, I mean, gosh, probably. I mean, well, I just go back to just all the fighting, all the yelling. That was one of the most active characters I had voiced up to that point, which is to say none. But other voices that happen afterwards, still, Tien, I don't think I've ever screamed or yelled as much, with the possible exception of a character in Borderlands. But other than that was just one day. This was ongoing, and yeah, I just think, well, that and of course the inevitable tri-beam. But so I would say that and just yelling for days and screaming Chiaotzu.
Yeah, I think it was probably one of the most intense roles of my career as well. Once I found out you got paid the same to not scream all the time and be in your gravel all day, I was like, well, I'll just take more of those, that's fine, I'm happy to do it. But I think, what I really appreciated about Tien is they're damaged, they're fallible, they're trying to figure out what they're supposed to be, and in that humbling of trying to appease Crane and my series Dragon Ball obviously doesn't mirror some of the DBZ world, but how important that was too is that you might be coerced by those with intentions that aren't yours, or be manipulated until you can maybe have that reckoning of, I guess I need to take more agency. I guess I need to show up more for myself, and I think that was a nice part of that journey for him.
It's been a long time since I recorded, so my memory of the specific scenes are quite fuzzy. But I do recall Dragon Ball Tien, like being, as far as like from an actor perspective, like the best version of Tien, because he's like the most well-rounded character, and he's on a journey and all those things that you're saying. And I really enjoyed playing Tien in that stage of his life.
I remember someone sent me Battle of the Gods before you guys had dubbed it, and they sent me like some DVD from Japan, and I watched it with fascination because I knew that Canada probably wasn't going to get her own dub, and I'm watching, and at one point Tien's like got a bowl of ramen, and he goes, huh? And I was like, okay, so we got something, and that was it, the whole movie, huh? But I don't know how the session went.
It was rough.
So one of the forever debates in our community is who's the strongest earthling between Krillin and Tien. I agree. He's got the better feats. He's always training and throwing stops, but I would just like to know y'all's take on it.
Well, we're Tien.
We're Team Tien.
We're all here in a Tien panel. I think it's safe to say we're all Team Tien. Is there anyone in the room who's not Team Tien?
I'm a Team Chiaotzu.
It's time for Team Tien, or the Team Tien time.
Is acceptable. Okay.
That was close. There was the longest time that it was like, I would just, to piss people off, I was like, no, Chiaotzu's the best character in Dragon Ball, by far. No, we all know it's Vegeta, but yeah, I was that guy.
Chiaotzu is a close second, for sure.
Chiaotzu is a definite close second. I mean, anybody that's willing to hug somebody and give them the explosion hug, come on, that's not, if that's not love, I don't know what is.
Well, Vegeta did the thing when he was fighting Majin Buu. He blew himself up. Yep. He learned it by watching Chiaotzu.
Yeah, exactly. You learn from the best.
That's right.
Hi, I'm Heath Miller. Do you want to be a voice actor, or at least up-level your career in voice acting? Elise Baughman teaches private and group sessions. Since I've started her class, I've learned the physicality, the confidence, and just how to improvise and how to become a new character. So I highly recommend taking EliseCoaches.com and give it a try.
We got a question right here in the middle.
So John, I know that you love playing Tien, but what was it like playing Kurama on Yu Yu Hakusho, man?
Oh, we got a Yu Yu.
Also a long time ago. So my memories of specifics are once again quite fuzzy. But Tien was maybe my first major character. I jumped in and recorded like a one-line, extra here and there a couple of times before doing Tien. But Kurama was the first one that I like auditioned for and I got, and it was definitely the most well-rounded and most developed character to this day, probably, that I've ever played, with the possible exception of Shigure from Fruits Basket. Those are tied for my all-time favorites. So I mean, it was a great experience, and I learned so much on that role. I mean, all of us, Justin, myself, even Chris Sabat at that time. I mean, we were all very early in our careers. We were still figuring out how to do all this stuff, and it was a lot of just like trying really hard and learning on the job, and putting a lot of pressure on ourselves to get it right. And I don't know, it was a. Well, thank you. We try, like I say, it was a lot of try hard going on. Thank you very much.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? Right here in the front.
My question is for John. In the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, we find out that one Tien's major goal is to overpass Goku one day.
Yeah.
Later, he finds out, that when he goes Super Saiyan, that's pretty much, impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think he chose to continue his martial arts?
Because he ain't.
Sir, please, come take a seat.
We're having t-shirts made of Tien ain't no. They'll be available for Kameha Con 2024.
That is the most succinct and perfect answer. Yes, that. But that's it. I feel like Tien, that's what makes Tien a cool character, I think, is that he knows he's never going to be able to compete with these guys. So he's like, okay, I'm never going to be a Super Saiyan, but what he can do is he can be the best version of himself. And he can still show up and do what he can. And maybe he's
just
not
like
the guy,
all of us.
Yeah. And so maybe he's not the guy who defeats Cell. But he can help save the day. He can buy the others some time and do that. So he's just all about doing what he can and contributing and just being a part of the team effort. And the Tournament of Power comes along and they're like, hey Tien, want to come along? Sure, guys, I'm probably gonna get killed, but let's go. Didn't ask Yamcha.
That should be another T-shirt.
You notice that the Yamcha voice actor never comes to show. Any other questions from the audience? Yes, sir.
John, what was it like coming back to be Tien in Dragon Ball Super?
Fantastic. It was. I mean, we had been done recording for I don't even know how long. I lost count of the years. It's like we'd finished recording the series, but it never really went away because there was always we were always going back and redoing something for a better Blu-ray release or something, or recording the video games as they came through. And then they were like, okay, well now we're going to release Kai, so now we have to re-record the whole series again. And then we finished Kai and we're like, okay, well I guess that's it. And then they announced Battle of Gods and new Dragon Ball content. What? And we were all ecstatic. And then Tien he showed up. He was still part of the gang. I was like, wow, this is really cool. And so then when Super continued with that, it was just like, wow, I never thought in a million years we would have new content. And we'll see, whenever they ultimately continue the series, we'll see if Tien is still hanging around. I hope so, but. Is he already?
Yes.
Thank God.
Yes, so Tien is coming back in the. Any other questions, guys? Up here in the front. And then I got one from the back.
My question's for Chris. So I absolutely love Shu, the little dog ninja.
By the way, not to interrupt you, does Shu come back?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, you were saying?
So how did you make up the voice for Shu? when you were given the role?
Oh, in a really dumb way. Here's how it goes. I don't know why I looked at that dog and that kind of bumbling dog, and I was watching, for some reason, I was watching Rosie O'Donnell. I could stop there, but she was doing some kind of a character, she was doing some kind of mic drop, doing some kind of a character voice herself. So she already sounded one way, and then she was doing a character voice on top. And she was kind of talking out of the side of her mouth. So I kind of combined, but Shu's mouth doesn't even do that, but I did. So when I recorded, this is great, I started talking like this. And it was me kind of combining a couple of sounds with her doing a character. So it's essentially a dog version of Rosie O'Donnell. So there you go, which some would argue, well, whatever. Yeah.
There'll be a meme about that later.
We got a question from the behind the curtain, so he's behind the curtain, don't worry about him. What's up?
So I got a question for all three of you. This doesn't have to be just Tien related, but the question is, what is one of the favorite outtakes moments that you ever had throughout your career, if you're willing to share, or whatever comes to mind?
What is this rated?
I mean, I burn about a third of my takes with ridiculous nonsense. I don't know if I can pinpoint
I
it.
see that there's a couple of little ones in here. How much do they understand? Zero? Okay, you're good. Go.
Do PG version.
PG-13.
They're all filthy. I mean,
fork, shirt. What kind of word substitution do you need?
I mean, they're all filthy. I mean, at one point, I may or may not have had my special little VHS tape of some of the outtakes that I had specifically made. That's in a vault. That's in storage right now. That I will never sell or reveal. But I mean, of course, we mess up all the time. Yeah. And what's great is when, by the way, when you mess up and the blooper exactly fits the flaps anyway. So it's like, I'm gonna kill! Oh my God, that didn't fit at all. Like that's the best to watch back. But then sometimes after we blow it, we just start to come up with stuff. So it just sounds like we're doing like a parody of the actual scene. You know, people ask about, what do you think of certain abridged series? And I say, well, that's just us messing up. Or that's just us joking around the takes they don't use. So I can't pinpoint a specific one, but it's all the time.
I mean, it did feel like a third of my sessions were just goofing around, having the best time, riffing, making jokes, and then, yeah, you would do the work for the other 2/3, but during that hour, there was amazingly ridiculous things that would happen, and it became part of why it was so wonderful to work on these things, because it wasn't stuffy and dull. These people were playful, the engineer was helping, the director was helping. We were all working collaboratively in real time to figure it out. And then we got a lot of exploration, a lot of fun came out of that, so.
I do agree with that aspect, because that's why I enjoy it so much as well. It's just the rapport that is formed between, because it's just us recording one at a time, and it's just the actor and the director and the engineer, and you just form this little bond of camaraderie or what have you there in the moment, and it's a lot of fun. For the outtakes, they're all of the you kind of had to be there variety, but there's lots of laughs had during a session.
Oh yeah.
You got one right in the middle.
Could I hear all three of y'all do the tri-beam cannon?
See, I was going to do that at the end of the show,
Oh, okay.
but you know what?
Is
You
it
want
the
to jump
end
the
of the show?
It's not the end of the show yet, but if you want to jump the gun,
Yes, let's do it.
and I only talk crap to him because he's one of my favorite humans.
I don't know him.
Yeah, I met him yesterday.
He's denied you once in front of a crowd. 2 more times and we've got an issue.
Yep. I guess, do you guys mind doing a tri-beam?
Are you wanting one where we all just do one at the same time?
Yeah.
That takes some pressure off.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be focused on you exclusively.
All right, we'll do the grand finale right now.
I need to smash the chair real quick. So if I smash the chair, then I'm in my mode.
So this is the time. Everybody get your camera out. You have 2 seconds to get your camera ready.
Build up or just a drive-in?
Driving mile, 1, 2, 3, driving mile. Gotta do the thing. Gotta give the people what they want.
Imagine we're 6'2".
Dance, monkey, dance! I'm joking, by the way.
All right, who's gonna count us in?
We should probably just look right down the middle. And
All right, I got you.
Yeah.
We're going on 3. 3, 2, 1.
Tri-beam